Hey YouTube, Xlice here on second channel. Giga Break Mommy is here. Complete guide is out on main channel if you're interested, so now let's have some fun with Eidolons. Alright, so quickly, Eidolon scaling for her, basically just more team damage across the board. E1 is more a super break multiplier and one-time toughness reduction slap across the phase. E2 is Res Pen and instant dev debuff on ultimate. E4 is a stronger follow-up attack, more instances equals more super break damage as well as vulnerability percent. E6 is 150% more break effect for your carry and a mini DDD effect on her talent. As you've noticed, I'm recording this in post-production after doing all the showcases. I've decided to include both MOC and Anomaly Arbitration runs so that we can both actually see Eidolon scaling and how strong it scales. So, since this is a Dahlia Focus showcase, we are doing one ideal team with Firefly and doing it pure sustainless for maximum break damage. So we're going to be having Firefly, Fugue, and HMC. In both MOC and Anomaly, this is a non-issue and is the ideal situation for break anyways. Again, this is for entertainment purposes only and to satiate my and anyone else in watching here's curiosity on Eidolon strength. So like and sub if you enjoy this video, as I enjoy doing this for any of the games I actively play. Oh yeah, and happy holidays. Hope you guys are staying cozy wherever you are. Timestamps in the description. Let's run through builds really quick. So Dahlia's builds. She's going to be maxed out. She's going to be on 4-piece cavalry with 2-piece forge. Firefly is going to be a 4-piece cavalry and 2-piece forge. Fugue is going to be a 4-piece cavalry with Bonwhack, and HMC is going to be Watchmaker with Bonwhack. So in an ideal situation, with all these mini DDD effects, we actually like having like Eagle plus Bonwhack or energy regen and basically every single team comp. But low-key, that's kind of a little bit too crazy for me. So we're going to stick with this because this is a pretty comfortable team, and for the most part, Dahlia doesn't really need an insane amount of energy regen. So yeah, that's how we're going to do it. All right, so stats really quick, just so you're fully aware. Firefly is going to be about 140 speed, 260. She doesn't need to be 140, but we are going to be on attack boots because we have Dahlia's A6 passive. And then Dahlia herself is going to be pure break and a decent amount of speed, 161. Fugue is going to be 166. She's going to be 124 regen, a little bit of EHR, just so that she lands her stuff. HMC is going to be 176 speed, even faster at 124 regen. Just focus on a maximum ult uptime. Okay, we're starting with E0 team first. So the way I designed this is basically I'm going to be pushing MOC floor 12 until I get a 0 cycle clear. If you guys watched the guide, even if you didn't, full E0 of this team comp with Ling Shang was able to 1 cycle. So I'm doing sustainless here, and we're going to see how well it does. Overall, needs to be a little bit min-maxy for 0 cycle MOC, but the minute that we get a 0 cycle MOC, we're going to be starting to do Anomaly Arbitration with all 3 of the knights defeated. This way, we can actually see those Eidolons and how powerful they scale up. Otherwise, MOC just gets deleted in like 5 seconds, and you don't really get to see that much value. So that's what's going to happen. The minute we get a 0 cycle on MOC, we're going to be doing like a side-by-side. Once MOC gets to be instant clear, I'm just not going to bother showing MOC anymore. We're just going to be doing full AA. Sound good? Sound good. Alright, so as is expected with this particular team, we're just going for a 0 cycle clean wave 1 and saving ultimates for wave 2. So I'm going to double send here. This is so that we get that def debuff. Since we don't have E2 active, I need to use my ultimate to get that def debuff, and then I can also send Fugue here. And then Firefly can deal as much nuke damage as she possibly can. So focusing on Cocolia here. 1.9 mil is pretty juicy and already 50% on Cocolia, which is quite nice. I do have a DDD effect on HMC, so I want to use it here so I can bump up Firefly. Firefly is technically the only one we really care about, but ideally we get DDD effect on everyone. Okay, so in these earlier showcases, I actually made a mistake. Fugue is not running an ER set, and I noticed this a little bit too late. So for a lot of these showcases, you're gonna see Fugue is gonna have take 10 business days to get her ultimate up. That's just gonna be how it is. It doesn't really affect the showcases long term, but when I try to do AA down the line, I will have to switch. Alright, so we are just about to hit the first cycle finished here, and we managed to kill Brony on the side with Cocolia at 6%, so it's close. Full E0 team comp is close, and Dahlia really is quite insane for this comp, right? We basically can ignore toughness bars, and the only purpose for toughness bars is essentially to maybe give like Firefly more turns and shit, which is quite nice. That is our 1 cycle at E0. So now we're going for E1 Dahlia. This one's going to be quite nice. We're getting a super break conversion, which is quite a big jump here, and also that 1 type toughness reduction, which doesn't really have an effect in MOC, but it does have an effect in AA. So first MOC. All right, set up like usual. Alright, so initiation. Trying to get HMC's ultimate as fast as possible for that juicy buff. Fugue buff. And then we just instantly send here after we get this. So that Firefly gets maximum damage. Typically for these early phases when I don't have E2, I want to wait on Dahlia's ult and save it for wave 2. Because wave 1 is basically always guaranteed 0 cycle. So we're just going to go full blast here. 1.9 mil. Okay, wave 2. So we don't have Fugue's buff here. So be note that the damage right here is without Fugue's buff. 2.2 mil. So now we're down to 40% and we don't even have Fugue's buff. So recognize that at E0, I did have both buffs and we only sent 50%. So E1 is already pretty a juicy margin increase here. We're still a little bit far away here. Get a DDD boost here on HMC. Push up Firefly. Cole's gonna go. If we get... Okay, if he gets hit here, so we're gonna send an ultimate. Okay. Now we're going. 1.1. 200k. And we're basically just finishing it off. But as you guys can see, it is a little bit close, but we are able to get a 0 cycle here. There it is. All right, so 0 cycle just on the cusp, which means that from E0 to E1, we are getting a pretty nice upgrade. All right, so next up is going to be AA. Just gonna quickly seek by here through my showcases. We are gonna be using the break bonus here. This is sustainless, as you guys can see, and this is level 100. So we're not doing plight mode. This is a normal 3-night kill, debuff to boss. So this is going to give us the best kind of like comparison level because AA has enough HP to sustain through longer fights. So same thing as usual. And as you guys will notice, through AA runs, Fugue basically does not get her ultimate because I just don't realize until too late. I'm mostly just staring at Firefly's damage going, oh, cool, nice. Big damage increase. Cool. Alright, so instant send here. HMC already has ult. Dahlia has E down. 2.9 mil. So very, very nice. First phase is almost already dead. I'm gonna save that train for when his break bar is back up. 8%. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to use one more Firefly E for this. So there it is. Alright, so we send the train in here and get a little bit of a chunk on that break bar. HMC is going to push everyone up. We do have to manage our skill points a little bit here because Firefly is not E2. So that's why I am like mixing and matching between my abilities. Okay, so we do get the Dahlia's death debuff here. And also a huge 1.4 mil from herself. So she's doing a fair bit of damage. There's 3.1 from Firefly and then Dahlia's talent doing 500k. HMC, we're just going to basic here. Because I'm already basically full energy again. And then we finally get Fugue's ult. 1 million super break. AoE is quite nice in this team. 500 super break. Instant Firefly ultimate. Really nice from A6 passive from the Dahlia. It actually helps a lot with that rotation here. There it is. So down to phase 3 already, and we're still on the 0th cycle. We only have 54 AV though, so I think this is going to be a 1 cycle, which is completely fair. But as you guys can see, Dahlia is like quite, I would say, necessary for break comps now. Otherwise, you'd have to wait until all of these break bars are down to deal any significant damage. But with Dahlia, you're doing damage immediately, which just like completely skips and ignores the mechanic of like, yeah, you're basically just a crit scaling comp just without the crit part. And you guys can hear a Robin singing in the background. Classic. Alright, so that is one cycle past here. We are almost done with the boss. We're doing as much damage as we can. Yeah, I need to send Dahlia's ult here. There's no point in wasting it. We just gotta try to push his HP as low as possible here. And we have excess skill points, so we're just continuing to send here. You're just gonna buff. We're gonna have to probably... It's almost a 2 cycle, but I think it's gonna be a 1 cycle because we get E into ult. So without the Dahlia's trace, it's really too close for comfort. But thankfully we have it. Alright, so 1 cycle in general is pretty nice, right? All things considered, this is 0 cycle MOC into a 1 cycle on AA, which is not bad. And this is just at E1. Alright, so let's move forward to E2. Alright, jumping forward to E2, we are getting 20% ulti breath pen and immediate wilt debuff from the ultimate on all enemy targets that enter the field. So this is quite nice because we don't have to aggressively send for the Dahlia's ult, especially on MOC. It becomes quite easy because I'm still going to hold it here because we really don't need to use it on wave 1. But yeah. So ideally from this point on, it should be a basic no-brainer to get a 0 cycle here. So we're just sending like usual. Nothing crazy. I'm showing you guys the depth debuff, the 18% there. It's active before Dahlia even ults, which is really nice. So like even for first wave, we still get an amazing amount of value because we can hold this ultimate but still have full value out of it, right? Which is nice. Right, so ult from HMC into ult from Firefly. See the damage here. Got 20% ulti breath pen plus the depth debuff, which we didn't have initially. Sending it on the left mob, 1.9. So probably because the mobs only had that amount of HP, but you guys saw we instantly tapped at wave 0. Wave 1, sorry. Alright, 500k there. Ultimate on Cocolia. 2.4. So there we go. 34% HP without fugue bonus, which is really nice. Essentially, we're guaranteed 0 cycle with basically full autopilot. I think at this point, auto can handle it. So unfortunately now, Bronya has removed all the debuffs, but it's okay since she's basically dead already. Firefly gonna send here. 6% HP. Dahlia's follow-up attack, so they're basically dead. We're just gonna send all our skill points and just kill them pretty easy. For good measure, just gonna add a HMC ult. Not necessary, but obviously, you know, you have it, so why not just use it? Yeah, so a little bit more min-maxy, and we probably could have gotten a clean 0 cycle. This functionally looks very similar to the previous run, but again, the HP bars are much different, right? This was not a close call, whereas the previous one was a pretty close call. All right, so now let's skip forward to AA. E2 Dahlia, AA. So the break point here is to see when can we push a 0 cycle. That's the break point. So really nice here. The initial toughness reduction, taking out 43% of the boss HP. We noticed the depth debuff's already on, so let's go ham. Instant HMC ult to push up my teammates. Foxian prayer. Dahlia can just E here because we're full skill point. And then we send. Alright, so damage here is 3.9er. Very nice. And 7% left on phase 1's boss. And then the immediate second one for a 1.7. So big juice coming in. Phase 1 instantly deleted. I'm gonna send that train for that toughness reduction. We're gonna push this. We can basically force HMC to ult as long as I see that Firefly is nowhere near going to act. Because that means that DDD is gonna get value. Alright. Dahlia's can continue sending E's because I want to get her ultimate nub. The def debuff might have worn off by now. 2.7 mil into Dahlia 600k. So Dahlia's doing good amount of chip damage. Can't deny that. Alright, she should be fairly close here. There it is. So I decided to hold it here. To be honest, not really sure. I think I thought to myself that I could delete the break bar, but I realized that he buffed himself. So I should have done Dahlia's ult first. It would have made that a lot stronger, but it's okay. It is no problem. The fact that Few doesn't have her ult here is a little bit depressing, but it is what it is. Okay, so we're gonna send the E here, even though it's going to overkill. Want to send him to... Okay. So, phase 3 with 88 AV. It is a little bit out of reach, I think, but we'll have to see. Okay, I'm gonna send this right before he acts here. The AA push. Okay, she's going. Firefly, damage-wise, is doing 25%. I don't know if we can do this. I think it's going to be really close. 51 AV. It's like really close. Yeah, I think we don't have enough AV here, so it's going to be a one cycle. How much? 22%. Okay, so even if we had an extra Firefly action here, we would still not be within range, which is a little sad, but that's the reality. Yeah, this is gonna be close, right? We're 40% off from this, so it's still a one cycle here. So at this point, it doesn't really matter what I do, right? We just need one more Firefly, and we're good. Or actually, no, we just chip damage it now. Yeah, so 1%, and then he's dead here. So unfortunately, E2 Dahlia, we were a little bit shy. I think even if I used Dahlia's ult when I said I would, but I used Firefly's action instead, I don't think that would have pushed the damage that far. But I think if you heavily min-max this, you can see a 0 cycle here with just E2 Dahlia and E0 everyone else. So overall, not bad. Overall, not bad at all. All right, now on to E4. So we're skipping here. Ultimate plus 2 is 2% more def reduction. Not gonna be that noticeable, but now we're on E4. So E4, we should be guaranteed to 0 cycle anomaly arbitration. We just want to see how fast it is. And MOC is basically guaranteed to be dead as well. All right, E4 S1, the Dahlia, providing a little bit more vulnerability percent, and also the Dahlia's own follow-up attack is slightly stronger. The important thing is though the vulnerability percent because it benefits your entire team. So that's nice. All right, as you guys can see, the enemies are getting weaker and weaker on entry. So Dahlia here, basic attack doing 200k. Then we have HMC ult. Then Firefly is gonna go. She's gonna kick this guy. That guy's instantly dead. Dahlia just hit 600k. And now I'm gonna send Firefly. So Firefly's single E here definitely gonna one-shot this guy. Not even close. 3 enemies, 1.6. Now on to Dahlia's side. Alright, so let's proc here. Okay, how much damage? E4, 2.55. So slightly more, but again, we did not get the follow-up attack on it yet. You can see Kokolia's HP is 24%, so basically we're one-shot. We're within one-shot range. And then Fuga's gonna get her ultimate here. And then this damage from just Few is 300k. And then Firefly... Oh, okay. There you go. Oh, okay. Yeah, Dahlia just whips them. Very easy, very straightforward. So yeah, E4 is a guaranteed wipe. Let's move forward here to AA. Sorry, cleaning my closet. Alright, so entry, getting Dahlia's follow-up attack immediately. Boss is already at 55%. HMC setting up. Dahlia's set up. Fugue is going to take 10 years to set up. That's okay. What we care about is Firefly's damage. So boss is essentially fully debuffed here. And our first E is going to be the strongest. You can see Dahlia's already doing 800,000. It's kind of juiced. Let's send 1 E here on boss for how much damage? How much are we talking? 4 million, and we send it to phase 2 instantly. Damage really adds up. That was basically no action value and already phase 2. Now we're sending a second one here. 3.2 miller. And then we got a little bit of toughness reduction here. We're gonna send HMC's ult for that DDD bonus. He's just gonna whack him for a 200k. Nice little juice there. Dahlia's E is doing 550k. All this is really nice super break damage. And then we're just gonna send Firefly through this shield. Still doing 1.8, even though he does have a shield. Decided to basic here because I'm calculating skill point usage. I do like Eing with Dahlia here, but I'm so close to energy, it doesn't really matter to basic attack. Alright, so I decided not to send this because I want to wait until we get to phase 3. Then we're going to Dahlia ult. Alright. Dahlia's ult is now up. I have to wait for Firefly to recover here. We have 95 AV left. Okay, now we get Fugue's ult for the first time this run. Alright, so I decided to use E here. I believe I do have enough skill points. I just need 2 skill points for Firefly, and then HMC can just basic for her ult. There's a perfect combination here. Alright, Firefly's enhanced E. 1.8, 43% left. Basic here. Into that ultimate. Into that R button. 40% left. Firefly is going, 56 AV. She's gonna be able to move twice. Just checking her break effect here, 626. %. So we are good. This is guaranteed. So we got the 0 cycle clear. It did take E4 Dahlia, but I think it can be done at E2. Just gotta min-max a little bit more. But still good. So there we have it. 0 cycle anomaly arbitration at E4 the Dahlia. Very, very nice. All right, and now the final curtain to call. All right, boys, so time for E6. This one's a juicer. Well, let's first, so E5 is going to be that talent +2. E6, 150% more break effect, which is kind of fat. And then also when she uses her talent follow-up attack, you get more DDD effect. So in this ideal situation, because her talent follow-up attack only is used once per her own turn, you basically just giga max her speed out and possibly put Eagle Set on her to try to boost not only your own, but also your carry's action. So pretty juiced. She also gets 150 break effect herself like this, so you can basically sack it from her own stats and go pure speed. Super break conversion is now a little bit stronger. So in the most ideal situation right here, right? I would say in this particular case, if you do end up going E6, I would view it kind of like a Kafka situation where Kafka is doing insane amount of EQs every single time for the DOT proc, right? But instead, for Dahlia's case, when you have E6, I think you should still go Eagle and Energy Regen because more ultimates means more turns for her, which means more follow-up attacks, which means more turns for your main carry. Your main carry is doing substantially the most amount of damage. It's the most important part of the kit. So yeah, that's what I would recommend here. I'm not going to switch it because that would require me to completely change our entire gear set. And also because I want to see the damage increase from just E6 raw. I feel like if you do put her on the ideal comp, you'll go even more than what I'm doing right now. All right, so quickly in MOC 12 destruction, this is going to be really fast. Okay, well, you guys see here, we are literally entering battle, and both of the enemies are less than 1/3 HP. And her break effect, look at that, 745% break effect. 500% on the Dahlia herself. Fugue has 400. HMC has 300. Like 150% is giga juiced here. Okay. Dahlia's gonna auto it, and it's basically dead. I'm gonna proc HMC's ult here. I'm gonna send the E on the left one because the right one is so weak. So you noticed that, right? That follow-up attack from Dahlia just giga slapped them. Alright, so Dahlia's gonna get ultimate here. And then Firefly is gonna go 67% on the left. Damage from E6. 3.4 miller, and then we go insta-go. It's just over. It's just over. Then we just eat Bronya on the right. I was actually surprised. I was like, how did I do this? Break effect is 711. I think that we probably some buffs expired while the action we're doing. All right, so that's basically a 0 AV 0 cycle essentially. What the fuck was that? You guys heard me? Yeah. So that's me in the recording. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck was that? All right, so now we're on to Anomaly. All right, so we already saw how fast the 0 cycle in MOC was. Now it's time to see AA. Anomaly Arbitration. All right, 41% boss HP already. HMC is gonna ulti here. Gonna get Foxy and Prayer on right after Fugue goes, so we can bump Fugue's AA or AV. Dahlia's gonna slap him with an E and do 700k because why not? Firefly E, 500k into Dahlia's 1.1 mil into Firefly's E. 3.86 in instant phase 1. Instant phase 1. Beautiful. Just cinema. Alright, we're gonna basic here with the Dahlia. We have only 2 skill points left. I do want to charge up HMC eventually. Okay, 4 skill points here. Gonna send the train here to reduce that toughness a little bit. Then we're going to hold HMC's ult because I want Firefly to go first so that we get DDD value. There you go, 44%. We get the DDD bonus here, pushing allies up. Fugue basic dealing 200k. Firefly, okay, so he's shielded here. I'm not gonna be able to do that much. Okay, we are gonna do a lot, 2.8. Gonna E here with Dahlia. 1 mil. So I decided to use it here because I was like, well, I mean, I think we have enough chip damage. Oh. All right, so the Dahlia just does 3 mil there and sends it to phase 2. I don't even remember that this happened, but it did happen, I guess. So yeah, Dahlia's also got a fuck ton of damage too. All right, so now we're on phase 3 and we still have 166 AV. So the E6 jump is juiced for sure. 2.7 mil, and the Dahlia is doing 1.3 mil. So the Dahlia is also just giga slapping them. Insane character development here. Those big Abobos got a lot of power. Alright, so unfortunately here, Firefly's ultimate is running out, so I have to resend it. Or, no. What we do is we DDD her above her own combustion ending state, so she gets 1 more E before she ends here. Which is, I think, is super ideal. 11, oh, okay, well, perfect. There you go. 124 action value remaining, by the way. So E6's jump is actually giga insane. Yeah, I mean, that's just how it is. That's just crazy. All right, so she's very, very, very nice at E6. Obviously, this is vertical investment for break, entertainment purposes only. So the last final thing I want to show you guys, okay? I'm just gonna bring this up briefly so you guys can see it, but I did try Plight mode with E6 Dahlia, and this is what happened. I died. So if you guys don't know, by the way, Plight mode is just level 120 version, the unweakened state. I just wanted to try it out and see how it would do. So at E6 Dahlia, we died. Then after that, I tried to do E2 Firefly and E1 Dahlia. So you'll see here, we went E1 here. But even after all this, I'm gonna fast forward it so you guys are fully aware. This is where we got. So I'll just move all the way to here. We are phase 3 and 56 AV left in Plight mode. So we're actually pretty close, but not close enough. So you guys will see. This is the damage we're doing. He's at 76% HP here. I'm at E2 Firefly, so I'm getting double turns every so often. Dahlia's gonna ultimate. Doing 1 mil. Sending all my skill points here. 400k from HMC. 300k from the Dahlia. And the final E from Firefly. 3.5 mil. And then 1 more follow-up attack. So, unfortunate, we were not able to get there. And then after that, this was the limit I was willing to push it. So I did 1 more attempt with E2 Fugue. So I thought this was going to be super broken, but it's not as broken as I thought it was because Fugue ends up ulting maybe like 2 to 3 times max. So it doesn't really affect the outcome by too much. But as you guys can see here, we do get a little bit farther than before. I think we push it below 50% HP here. So it's 60% here. And then Firefly goes, pushes it to 50% at 4 million damage, and then Dahlia does 1.6. So we still failed. We still failed. Just as a little bit of a reminder here, this team is E2 S1 Firefly, E6 S1 Dahlia, and E2 S1 Fugue with E6 DDD HMC. So with this, Plight is still a little bit out of reach. I think that the only way that I can do Plight here is if you min-max their builds. So like Fugue herself, if she gets as many ultimates as possible, maybe even Eagle set on herself, it would benefit Firefly. Because the major goal here is the more attacks that Firefly does and the more turns that the Dahlia has, the more damage your team will do. So that is the idea here. So the Dahlia is kind of like your pseudo sub DPS carry. Her ultimates, her E's, and her follow attacks do a fuck ton of damage that add up over time. But unfortunately, I think that I would need to swap my build to be a little bit more ultimate favored. I don't know if it's worth the Dahlia running Eagle set because 4-piece cavalry is quite a bit of damage herself. And she's doing about 1/3 to 1/4 of Firefly's damage. It's not a little bit. So I think that in this particular case, we just need a little bit more action value and we would get it. As you guys can see, 50% of the boss's HP is around 3 more full turns. I don't know how to squeeze out 60 more AV from this situation. I tried my best, but yeah, it did not happen to work out. But it was still really fun to try, and I'm really glad that I did it because at the end of the day, this is what we need to do, right? This is what we need to do to see the value out of it. So for your guys' entertainment, I am going to actually just show you the whole run, right? You guys probably want to see a Plight run, at least for a little bit. All right, so let's just start it. So you guys will see the damage. You guys will see the team setup here. You guys will see it's easier to get Fugue's ultimate up. I'll show a little bit from phase 1 so you can see where I'm at, and then we'll go to phase 3. So the damage difference is way different here. As you guys can see, we're doing quite a bit. Even the toughness reduction, the one-time thing that the Dahlia has, only was able to chip out a little bit. So Firefly's first enhanced E here is 4.2 million and fully breaks the bar. And this is E2 Firefly, so she goes again and deals 3.6. But again, we're only 70% of the phase 1 boss's HP. So we got a lot of work to still do here. %. We are 210 AV left. I want to spam HMC's ultimate as much as possible for that DDD. Firefly is going next again. 5.5 mil this time. Really nice. The Dahlia is going to E here. 700k. HMC is going to E here. And again, because Firefly is E2, her enhanced E does not cost skill points, which means that I can spam my team a lot more often, which is nice. So I send Dahlia's ultimate here. 1.8 mil. It's true AoE, which is really nice. Few we need to rebuff. And I also get Fugue's ultimate off here for another 900k damage. We need that ultimate ASAP. And then Firefly managed to go again. So 5 mil 3 times with a Dahlia 1 mil is pretty nice, right? But as you guys can see, we are 110 AV left, and we are not at phase 2 yet. It's hard. It's not easy. Full sending, 77 AV here for the second cycle, or for the first cycle. So it takes us quite a bit. Alright, so this is going to be phase 2. So we are in the 0th cycle with 77 AV left. So it took us about 160, 150-ish AV, I think. I don't recall how much it was at the beginning there. But then we fast forward, and I'll show you guys where we're at phase 3. Alright, so this is phase 2. We're close. As you guys can see, we are almost at 2 cycle. So our speed is slowing down a little bit. 5%. So this was a little bit unfortunate. Look at that. That is so unfortunate. If he phase changed here, we would have been in a lot better position. 1%, by the way. So wasting an ult here on 1% feels really terrible because each E from me is about 10 to 13% HP, which is like quite important. So yeah. All right, so phase 3, just gonna show you one more time. There it is. A 2.4 mil ult, 92%. Very juicy pause there. Okay. Yeah. Overall, the team did their best, but it was unfortunately a fail. All right, so overall thoughts on the Dahlia. When it comes to Eidolon investment point, I think E1 is going to feel really nice in Anomaly Arbitration because of the initial 25%. But after that, it's just the 40% Super Break conversion, which is super nice. This one is okay. It's not as strong as you would imagine. I think E1 is a lot stronger, but this benefits your whole team's value. So this scales the more that you have Eidolon investment on your other team members. So pick up E2 if you are already like E2 on all of your other break members, I would say. E4 is okay. E6 is the next threshold. But for the most part, it feels like her Eidolon scaling is a bit more linear. There's no like massive, insane giga scale that you'll get from a breakpoint. It's all like, oh, nice, this is good damage. And then E2 is like, okay, she's doing a little bit more. And then E4 is like, okay, that's kind of nice. She's, herself is a little bit stronger. And then E6 is like, okay, nice, we're doing a lot more damage. But at E6, you've already committed to E6ing. So yeah, that's what I think. I think overall, you can expect kind of like a linear transformation from her. I would say the breakpoints are going to be E1, softly E2 if you have other vertical investment, and then E6. But yeah, that's going to be it. That is E6 Dahlia Showcase. Thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time. Balls.